Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Thumbs up in the back? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. What a glorious day in the Berkshires. How about it? Matt Cater and I can control a lot of things for an event like this, but the one thing we couldn't do was control the weather. But thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Monsignor. And thank you for everybody for being here today. Isn't this beautiful? Unbelievable. And if we could have the Vietnam veterans stand up to say thank you. We want to say thank you to you guys for all of your service and sacrifice. I apologize. My father would be very upset if I didn't have a jacket and tie on here today. Oh, my God. I always question that with my father. He told me two things when I got into public office, and I'm no longer in public office, but they're great lessons that I've carried with me for the rest of my life. He says, never ride in a car during a parade, because if you're too lazy to walk in the parade, you're too lazy to work for the people. And always wear a jacket and tie. So I asked him, I said, Dad, what about the 4th of July in Pittsfield? It could be 95 degrees, hot and humid. He says, wear a jacket and tie because there may be some people along that parade route that have heard of you but never have met you. So look the part. Zabians, fine clothing here. I just want to go through several thank yous, if you don't mind, and then we'll have these wonderful soldiers and the color guards get this program started. But Matt and Hannah Cater, where's Hannah? Hannah's over here, and Matt Cater. I made a connection with the Traveling Vietnam Wall folks a few years ago when they were in Dalton. And I said, what does it take to get it back to the Berkshires? And they said, we'll put you on the list, because these guys travel all over the country. A year ago, June, I got an email saying, how is July 10th to 13th of 2025? And I said, go for it. I didn't even look at my calendar, but I just knew that we had to bring this thing back to the Berkshires. And then I realized, well, we got to raise some money. So I called Matt Cater, who is so passionate about veterans and their service and sacrifice. I said, Matt, can you help us raise some money to bring this wall to the Berkshires? And Matt and Hannah stepped up in a big way. Others have donated money to make this possible. But Matt and Hannah, the Cater family, thank you very, very much for all that you do for all of our veterans. My brother Scott, through the efforts of Matt and Hannah and myself and my brother Scott, we hung our 100th banner in the town of Lenox, recognizing our soldiers as well. Another volunteer private fundraising effort to recognize the importance of what Lenox has done. I want to thank the Sheriff Bowler and his sheriff. He's loaned us these lights. This monument memorial will be open round the clock. So Scott and I were down here last night firing up the lights. It's a spectacular thing to see, even in the middle of the night. So thanks, Sheriff Bowler, for that. And I told him yesterday, and he organized our escort from the Big Y in Lee. And I told the sheriff, I said, if this escort is a mile long to go from the Big Y in Lee to the War Memorial Field in Lenox, I'll be a very proud man. I'm very proud to announce that, unfortunately, when you're in a parade, you don't see a parade. But the reports that I got was the escort was over a mile long. Unbelievable. Our state police stepped up. Our local police, fire, and ambulance folks stepped up in a big way. My brother Scott, he likes to stay in the background. Oh, did we blow a fuse? We have an electrician here. My brother Scott, probably my biggest champion, personally, professionally, and everything else. He's hung those banners and volunteered and donated this time. The big flag hanging at the entrance, a gift from Paul O'Brien from Sheffield, is on display. There was Scott. He had his crew here setting up these placards. So Scott Pignatelli and Pignatelli Electric, thank you very, very much for all that you do. A special thank you to Wayne Walton from LP Adams, another one that likes to stay in the background. I have to be very honest with you. I never met Wayne Walton in my life until a couple of months ago when Matt introduced me to him, and he offered to help out in getting this thing set up. And I said, what can I do to help you? He says, nothing, just tell me the date and time, and I'll bring my crew down here to do that. They established the foundation, which is dead center, perfect level, the last few days. Wayne Walton, your generosity, a Vietnam veteran himself, very passionate and understands what these Vietnam veterans went through. Wayne Walton, thank you very much. And LP Adams, you guys are rock stars. And I'll quickly go through a few more, but Bob Waldheim, I talk to him every week about setting up the color guards and honor guards. Debbie Cardy, who really spearheaded all of our volunteers, and we still need more volunteers if people want to come out and staff our check-in desk. John Toole in Toole Insurance took good care of us. My great friend Paul O'Brien and the Sheffield Historical Society had an army of people coming up here yesterday and help us getting this wall established. Hank Morris. Is Hank here? I don't think I've met Hank, but we talk every week. A Vietnam veteran who's done some wonderful things. John Van Zant, Doc Russo, and Mike Roman. These are the guys that volunteer this traveling wall, and they travel all over the country on a volunteer basis. Thank you, Doc and Mike, for being here and all that you're doing. The placards you see here was a project that the 10th and 11th graders from McCann Tech High School did. Jim Brosnan, the superintendent, was here earlier, but I want to thank him because we wanted to pay tribute to the 27 young men from Berkshire County. The youngest one was 17 years old. The oldest was 33 years old. Think about what you were doing at 17 years old. Think about what you want to be doing at 33 and what these folks went through. But Jim Brosnan, the students, Arthur Bentley, Jeffrey Burgess, Gianna Jacoby, Noah Canelos, Nicholas King, Ave Kratz, Rhea Lincoln, Jackson Tower, Justin Wislowski, and teachers Josh Meswar and Justin Howland. Thank you for the beautiful job you've done here. I'm embarrassed to say, as a lifelong resident of Lenox, I thought this field was the town of Lenox, so I wanted to get permission to come here, and they said, you got to go talk to the schools. So I went to Dr. Collins, and he says, absolutely, and they've actually canceled some baseball games so that we could be here today. And I can't think of a more appropriate location for this memorial than a war memorial field dedicated to our fallen soldiers. The town of Lenox and the Lenox DPW, John Garrity and Bruce Huber were down here setting up tables and chairs. Thank you very much. The Big Y in Lee, Price Chopper, Market 32 in Lenox, and Guido's all stepped up and donated services for us here today, and I can't thank them enough. Sam and Frank Sorrentino for the sound system. CTSB, who was broadcasting this and recording it. Dick and Kathy Peretti, if there's any overflow parking, you're on Dick Peretti's front lawn. So we thank him for doing that. General Marie Field, just for keeping an eye on this place. She lives across the street. She would walk through. She would text me what's going on. Thank you very much. And I do want to recognize Mayor Pete Marchetti from the city of Pittsfield. Thank you for being here. And my longtime colleague in the legislature and someone that we worked very closely on the 14 years that I served with him in the legislature, Senator Paul Marks. So thank you very much for joining us here today. Only another half hour of thank you, so I'll be very quick. Jim Sorrentino, Rick DeGrigli, Brady DeGrigli, Mike Sorrentino, Hillcrest Ed for setting up the tent, Michael Fabrizio, the award-winning singer-songwriter all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, a Berkshire native, is going to be performing some very powerful songs here today. Michael, thank you for being here. Ward's Nursery for the beautiful plants coming in and at the base of all of these placards. Ward's Nursery from Great Barrington, thank you. And more importantly, and most importantly, the Vietnam veterans and their families. We thank you, thank you, thank you. So with that being said, we will have the color guard proceed. Thank you very much, Bob. One thing, you guys can be seated if you want. We're going to get stand up again for the national anthem, but nonetheless, one thing that my father was always felt was important, having lost his best friend in World War II, who I'm named after. And actually, I wear my father's dog tags from World War II every day of my life as a constant reminder of the service and sacrifice of so many. But when you look at this wall, when you look at these placards, there's a story behind every one of those names, and it's up to the next generation of people to share those stories, to learn those stories, to talk those stories through. And the Cater family has done a fantastic job, and to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll have Michael Fabrizio kick off the national anthem. But Coleman Cater, a young, handsome high school boy that is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So thank you very much, Coleman, for being there, and I appreciate your help. And he was a tremendous help putting this wall up yesterday. In fact, show him your fingers. He cut his fingers up pretty good doing it, but we appreciate it.
No problem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Check. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Cohen and Monsignor John Bonzani give us some opening prayers.
I thought I would begin with giving voice to the young men and women who were part of that valiant effort in Vietnam. This is a poem by Archibald MacLeish, The Young Dead Soldiers. The young dead soldiers do not speak. Nevertheless, they are heard in the still houses. Who has not heard them? They have a silence that speaks for them at night, and when the clock counts, they say, we were young. We have died. Remember us. They say, we have done what we could, but until it is finished, it is not done. They say we have given our lives, but until it is finished, no one can know what our lives gave. They say our lives are not ours, they are yours. They will mean what you make them. They say whether our lives and our deaths were for peace and a new hope, or for nothing, we cannot say. It is for you who must say this. They say we leave you our deaths. Give them their meaning. Give them an end to the war and a true peace. Give them a victory that ends the war and a peace afterwards. Give them their meaning. We were young, they say. We have died. Remember us. And in conclusion, this poem, 8 Names Etched on the Wall, a tribute to 8 nurses killed in Vietnam. Their contributions many, their recognition small. Some gave all they had to give, 8 names etched on this wall. With choppers fast approaching, you'd hear their footsteps fall. To meet a surge of wounded troops, 8 names etched on the wall. The horrors that they witnessed so painful to recall. As men arrived in pieces, 8 names etched on this wall. The screams of soul and anguish who echo down the hall till morphine numbed their senses. 8 names etched on this wall. In triage reigned a chaos. They often made the call of who might die and who might live. 8 names etched on this wall. They willed smiles on their faces, dared teardrops not to fall. As men awoke to their fate, 8 names etched on this wall. And when that surge had ended, too spent to walk, they'd crawl back to their humble quarters. 8 names etched on this wall. The ones they saved, remember, and stand this day in awe of nurses still among us. At names etched on the wall. First Lieutenant Hedwig Orlowski. Second Lieutenant Carol Drozpa. First Lieutenant Sharon Lane. Captain Mary Clinker. Captain Eleanor Alexander. Second Lieutenant Elizabeth Jones. Second Lieutenant Pamela Donovan. And Lieutenant Colonel Annie Graham. May they all rest in peace. Amen.
O God, rich in mercy and compassion, we gather before you this traveling wall, a symbol of sacrifice and remembrance, to honor the victims of the Vietnam War, their families, their loved ones, and our nation. Grant your healing touch to all who bear the scars of war, those who served, those who waited, and those who mourn. Bring comfort to the hearts of families who lost loved ones, and restore peace to the minds and spirits of veterans who carry memories too heavy to bear alone. May this traveling monument inspire unity here among us, reminding our country of the cost of freedom and the importance of gratitude. Preserve charity and understanding among us all. Help us to remember the fallen with reverence, to support the living with compassion, to strive always for reconciliation and understanding. Let this be a place where sorrow is met with hope, where wounds, seen and unseen, continue to mend in your loving arms, and where the promise of peace takes full root in every open heart. Bless our veterans, their families, and our nation with strength, healing, and enduring peace. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Monsignor, very much. We're kicking off the day with some powerful words, and it's going to continue. I'm proud to introduce Tyrone Bellinger. Sit down, Bill and Woody, please. Tyrone Bellinger, a wonderful Vietnam veteran, very passionate about remembering his former colleagues, and in this table in front of us, listen to these words again, especially for the families whose name is on this wall. So Tyrone Bellinger, thank you so much.
those who served and those currently serving in the uniformed services of the United States are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and imprisonment. Before we begin our activities, we pause to recognize our POW and MIAs, over 138,000 since World War I. This is in remembrance of all POW and MIAs who have served their country, to know that they are never forgotten. We call your attention to this small table, which occupies a place of dignity and honor. The table is set for one, symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our ranks. They are referred to as POW and MIAs. We call them comrades. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together to pay humble tribute to them and to bear witness to their continued absence. The table is small, symbolizing the frailty of one prisoner alone against his or her suppressors. The tablecloth is white, symbolic of the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. The single rose in the vase signifies the blood they may have shed in service to ensure the freedom of our beloved United States of America. This rose reminds us of the family and friends of our missing comrades who keep faith while awaiting their return. The yellow ribbon on the vase represents the ribbons worn on the lapels of thousands who demand with unyielding determination a proper account of our comrades who are not among us. A slice of lemon on the plate reminds us of their bitter fate. The salt sprinkled on the plate reminds us of the countless volunteers as families as they wait. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us at this time. The chair is empty. They are not here. The candle is reminiscent of the light of hope, which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captives to the open arms of a grateful nation. The American flag reminds us that many of them may never return and have paid the supreme sacrifice to ensure our freedom. Let us pray to the Supreme Commander that all of our comrades will soon be back within our ranks. Let us remember and never forget their sacrifice. All of you who served with them and called them comrades. You who depend on their might and aid and relied upon them. Do not forsake them. Pray for them and remember them. May God forever watch over them and protect them and their families. I thank you.
Seen him do this a million times. Still gets me. So thank you very much for sharing that. I'm honored to introduce our first speaker, Woody Vaspera. Woody was born and raised in Honolulu, Hawaii, and now lives in the Berkshires. What's wrong with this guy? Woody joined the Air Force and became a B-52 pilot and flew over 250 combat missions during 3 tours of duty in Vietnam. He left active duty in 1973, and later entered the Air Force Reserves and retired in 1993. After a successful career in corporate America, Woody moved to Cheshire, where he is passionately and actively involved with strengthening programs to help our veterans, especially those in need. Woody, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, Smitty. Appreciate it very much. I'm going to share a story that a lot of veterans went through themselves, and in some instances they're still going through it. During the summer of 1972, I was flying Arc-Light missions over South Vietnam. Then one day I received a phone call from the Air Force informing me that my roommate during pilot training was shot down during a mission and was reported missing in action. I responded by saying that call me back only if you find him alive. I never received that call. When the Vietnam was built in 1982, I avoided going to the wall to not see his name engraved onto the wall. In March of '99, I was in New Haven, Connecticut, attending a business course for 2 weeks. When I got there, I made the decision that I was going to take a train to Washington in that middle week, which I was lucky to find out that they were going to give Friday afternoon off for us, and I could make it during that weekend. So I called my wife, who was living in Boulder, Colorado, and said that I was going to make that trip to finally visit my friend on the wall. When I arrived in Washington, D.C. by train, I went to the hotel to check in. And there was my wife sitting in the lobby saying I was not going to do this alone. She was right. When we arrived at the wall the next morning, I would not look at the book to find my friend's name where he was located on the wall. My wife did that. When we headed down to the north walkway, I passed a young boy talking to his grandfather and etching his name on a piece of paper. That's when my knees gave way, and I fell down and I started to grieve. We finally resumed our walk and found his panel and name, and I sat to visit with my friend, who will always remain in my memory and heart. He is on the first panel on the west wall, 26 lines down. I will always remember those numbers. When Vietnam veterans returned home from Vietnam, there were no tributes, recognition, speeches, parades, even handshakes for us. It was a very obscure re-entry into society. Many of the veterans came back either physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually broken, or a combination thereof. Some of them came back as POWs, who suffered many indignities while in captivity. It was not a pleasant return for many of us who served in Vietnam. However, there were the fortunate veterans that were able to re-enter society, go back to school, find a job, and raise a family. But the Vietnam experience never went away. Then there were others that were not able to do those normal things because they were not able to fit back into humanity. Many of them were the outcasts, committed suicide, became drug addicts, or turned out to be the forgotten ones. Some of them to this day remain somewhat incognito, but are slowly coming out, finding their brothers and sisters who served in Vietnam so a healing process can begin. It is now time to pay tribute to all the veterans, our brothers and sisters that served in Vietnam, or the nightmare for many that served there. Many of our veterans were drafted or joined the military thinking they could do something for their country or for economic or social reasons. They went to Vietnam with some innocence, but actually it was mostly acute fear as to the potential outcome. While there, our brothers and sisters experienced hell, which would stay with them for the rest of their lives. The experience of battle does not go away. You just have to learn how to live with it for the rest of your life. This tribute is about remembering what the Vietnam veteran, our brothers and sisters, did for their country. They gave their lives, whether they died in battle or came home and died later. They paid the ultimate price. At present, there are 58,281 names of our brothers and sisters on the Vietnam Memorial Wall. and more are being added every year. There were 2,709,918 men and women who served in Vietnam. Of course, their experience is forever. The memories of our brothers and sisters must go on. Our fellow veterans, no matter what war or conflict, will never be forgotten and will always remain in our hearts. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Woody. And Woody just exemplified how far these Vietnam veterans have come since they returned home. When that first panel came off the truck yesterday, Woody insisted that he would help put it in place in recognition of his dear friend. So, Woody, thank you so much for doing all that you've done. I've learned so much from Woody in the last couple of months since we first met. Our next speaker is Dennis O'Brien. Dennis O'Brien has been a good friend for a long time, a lifelong resident of the Berkshires, and all the banners you see in Lenox, Dennis and I work very closely on this as well, and his family has really stepped up historically in a great way. He's angry at me for getting him here today, but it shows you about what friendship means and how important this is as we all get older. But Dennis reminded me of a very special birthday gift he received on his 19th birthday. And it was a letter from the President of the United States in 1965. And it wasn't happy birthday. It was his draft notice. And after 8 months of prep, Dennis boarded a ship for destination unknown. 31 days and 16,800 miles later, he made an amphibious landing on the northeast coast of South Vietnam. And after 13 months, he was honorably discharged, all before he was old enough to drink or vote. I'm honored, Dennis, more than you realize. You participated in this event here today, so thank you so much.
Feel free for this. I was inadvertently talking to a kid I grew up with, who was on the color guard, Leslie Losau, and we could name 10 kids from our street in a half a mile that all ended up in Vietnam. 10, one street, right? Happened all over the country, right? Now, yeah, I got my draft notice on my 19th birthday, and on my 20th birthday, I crawled out of a fighting hole at a place called Con Tien, looking right into North Vietnam. So I told some of my friends, geez, I think it's my birthday. I'm not sure, but I think it's my birthday, right? So after they harassed me for a little bit, they said, make a wish. And I said, well, I want to live to be 21. And two of the Marines that were there said, don't waste it. Ask for something you can get. True story. But, yeah, there's 58,000 names of kids here that didn't get their wish, right? And there's 58,000 names of people who never got to live their lives. And the worst of all, there's 58,000 families that were totally devastated, a lot of which are here today. It comes to 4 words. Freedom is not free. And there's the cost right there. Thank you.
This is an original song that I wrote. It's called All Our Heroes. There's a place on hallowed ground where they rest with words profound, more than just moving sound, the lives they live. They come in every shape and race, every man from every place, much to learn from what they say in the lives they live. We won't forget their sacrifice, those that live and those that die, all the families that cry, haunted by the past. Purple Heart from Kennedy, a testament to bravery, rest in peace at last. All our heroes served our country true as some, kept us free and well beyond stormy sea or eerie calm, the lives they lived. We won't forget their sacrifice, those that lived and those that died, all the families that cry, haunted by the past. Purple Heart from Kennedy, a testament to bravery. Rest in peace at last. All our heroes, all our heroes, all our heroes. Rest in peace at last. We won't forget their sacrifice, those that lived and those that died, all the families that cry, haunted by the past. Purple Heart from Kennedy, a testament to bravery. Rest in peace at last. All our heroes, all our heroes.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody question why he's an award-winning singer-songwriter? Oh, it's an awesome job. Our next speaker is a lifelong friend, Bill Sturgeon. He served in the Army's 101st Airborne Division, where he was awarded the Bronze Star. He married his kindergarten sweetheart, and he's had an illustrious career in criminal justice and counterterrorism. He has also co-authored 3 books, is a radio host on WTBR, and is active in the community advocating for issues to support veterans, seniors, and individuals with disabilities. I'm my honor to introduce my friend Bill Sturgeon. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for doing it. Thank you. Go ahead, man. Good morning, and thank you all for coming. It means a lot to us who did serve, and to the families of those. See that pretty quick, huh, for an old guy. This isn't my first rodeo. But seriously, today I want you to take a moment and to view this wall, just the immensity of it. Smitty told you 58,300 names are currently on the wall. They gave the ultimate sacrifice. So take a moment and view the wall, pay your respects, say a prayer, whatever you would like. I would especially like to welcome the Gold Star families. They live the loss every day, as some of us do. My fellow Vietnam veterans, some of us are having a hard time getting up and down on those chairs for the next event, Smitty. We're just finding out we're not 19 anymore. And all the veterans today who are here, there are 4 pieces of information I would like to share with you. First, there are 58,300 names on this wall. Think about that. Bigger than most cities and towns in Berkshire County, the populations. Second, 61% of the service members killed in Vietnam were under 21. Under 21. Third, the average age of a service member killed in Vietnam, 23.1 years on that wall. And fourth, there are the names of 8 women, all of whom were nurses, are on that wall. I would respectfully ask when this breaks up and you tour the wall, you kind of look at it as sacred ground. It's a ball field today, was a ball field, but now it's kind of like a cemetery. I would like to thank Smitty and his patriotic team. He named a lot of them, but there's a lot of other folks that have contributed. And the people along the parade route yesterday, I'll never forget that, because some of the guys from the VVA of Pittsfield, remember we did a parade and they booed us from Bagels to Melville Street. So that was a long time ago. These people have worked so diligently about putting up this wall is an art. It's like a gigantic crossword puzzle. And I can't say enough for them. And thank you for all of the people who donated to bring this wall here. Smitty asked me to say a few words, and I will be brief. Today we honor every name that appears on this wall. Each one of them gave their life. Let's pause for a moment. Their life. What does that mean? As I remember it, one moment we were like all of us right now. In the next moment, they were gone. Their lives that they thought they would live, of being happy and alive and thinking of marriage and kids and maybe coming home, going back to college, and facing life's challenges that we've all faced, the good times and the bad times that are associated with living. They never got that opportunity. They never got the opportunity that we have of growing old. There were no more Christmases for them, no more family dinners, no more birthdays, family gatherings, getting married, having children. They were gone, and at a young age, it was hard to assume, forever. But we who knew them will always have their memories in our minds. In so many instances, really and truly, in so many instances, many families and friends have the last picture of them was their high school picture or a picture someone took just before they left to Vietnam, for Vietnam. This wall represents those who gave it all. In Vietnam, this was our generation's war, and these were our peers. Yes, they will be forever 19. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Bill. And I'm very proud to say you're not Wild Bill today. And I mean that in the greatest compliment. We have a very powerful poem that our friend Skip Hoshkier is going to read. Retired Master Sergeant Skip Hoshkier graduated from Williams High School in Stockbridge in 1964. Drafted into the Army in July of 1968 and reported to Vietnam in December of 1968. Assigned to the 25th Infantry Division during the Tet offensives of 1968 and 1969. His awards include the Vietnam Service Medal with 3 Bronze Service Stars, Air Medal with Oak Leaf Cluster, Air Force Commendation Medal, Air Force Achievement Medal, Air Force Outstanding Unit Award, and that's just to name a few. Please welcome Skip Hoshkier, who I just met for this morning myself here today, but I appreciate you being here, and I'm looking forward to this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And thank everybody for being here today. This is important to me. What I'm going to say is from the other side. Many things were written about the wall, but never anything of being on the other side. I was inspired by the famous painting Lee Tedder's Reflections, which is over there at the end, and Don Poss recently Autumn's Wall story. For me, I hope for you, Reflections in Autumn's Wall, reveal the wall's emotion and healing power. Now remember, that walk we all began in Vietnam, and know that it will be completed by Patrick Communes. From the other side, at first there was no place for us to go until someone put up that black granite wall. Now, every day and night, my brothers and sisters wait to see many people from places afar file in front of this wall, many stopping briefly for hours, and some come on a regular basis. It was hard at first, not that it's gotten any easier, but it seems that many of the attitudes toward the Vietnam War we were involved in have changed. I can only pray that the ones on the other side have learned something and more walls as this one need be built. Several members of my unit and many that I did not recognize have called me to the wall by touching my name engraved upon it. The tears aren't necessary, but are hard, even for me to hold back. Don't feel guilty for not being with me. My brothers, this was my destiny, as it is yours, to be on that side of the wall. Touch the wall, my brothers, so that we can share in memories that we had. I have learned to put the bad memories aside and remember only the pleasant times that we had together. Tell our brothers out there to come and visit me, not say goodbye, but to say hello, and be together again, even for a short time, and to ease the pain of loss that we all still share. Today, an irresistible and loving call summons me to the wall. As I approach, I can see an elderly lady, and as I get closer, I recognize her. It's Mama. As much as I have looked forward to this day, I have also dreaded it, because I didn't know what reaction I would have. Next to her, I suddenly see my wife, and immediately think how hard it must have been for her to come to this place. And my mind floods with pleasant memories of 30 years past. There's a young man in a military uniform, standing with his arm around her. My God, he has to be my son. Look at him, trying to be a man without a tear in his eye. I yearn to tell him how proud I am, seeing him standing tall, straight and proud in his uniform. Mama comes closer and touches the wall, and I feel the soft and gentle touch I had not felt in so many years. Dad had crossed to this side of the wall, and through our touch, I try to convey to her that Dad is doing fine and is no longer suffering or feeling pain. I see my wife's courage building as she sees Mama touch the wall, and as she approaches, she lays her hand on my waiting hand. All the emotions, feelings, and memories of 3 decades past flash between our touch, and I tell her that. It's all right. Carry on with your life, and don't worry about me. I can see, as I look into her eyes, that she hears, and a big burden has been lifted from her on wings of understanding. I watch as they lay flowers and other memories of my past, my lucky charm that I had taken from that was taken from me and sent to her by my CO, a tattered and worn teddy bear that I can barely remember having as I grew up as a child, and several medals that I've earned and were presented to my wife. One is the Combat Infantry Badge that I am very proud of, and I noticed that my son is also wearing this medal. I had earned mine in the jungles of Vietnam, and he had probably earned his in the deserts of Iraq. I can tell that they are preparing to leave, and I try to take a mental picture of them together, because I don't know when I will see them again. I wouldn't blame them if they were not to return, and can only thank them that I was not forgotten. My wife and Mama near the wall for one final touch. And so many years of decision, fear, and sorrow are let go. As they turn to leave, I feel my tears that had not followed for so many years form as dewdrops on the other side of the wall. Slowly move away with only a glance over their shoulders. My son suddenly stops and slowly returns. He stands straight and proud in front of me and snaps a salute. Something draws him near the wall, and he puts his hand upon etched stone and touches my tears that have formed dewdrops on the face of the wall. And I can tell that he senses my presence and the pride and love I have for him. He falls to his knees, and the tears flow from his eyes, and I try my best to reassure him that it's all right. And the tears do not make him less a man. As he moves back, wiping the tears from his eyes, he silently mouths, "God bless you, Dad. God bless you, son. We will meet some day, but in the meanwhile, go on your way. There is no hurry. There is no hurry at all." As I see them walk off in the distance, I yell out to them and everyone there today as loud as I can, "Thank you for remembering!" And others on this side of the wall join in. I notice that the U.S. flag, Old Glory, that so proudly flies in front of us every day, is flapping and standing proudly straight out in the wind. From our gathering, numbers have stayed, and we shout again and again and again. Thanks for remembering. Thanks for remembering. Thanks for remembering. Thanks for remembering. Thanks for remembering.
Thank you, Skip. I just want to throw out just a couple of statistics in addition to what Bill Sturgeon talked about. There are 3 sets of fathers and sons on this wall. Bill had alluded to the 39,996 on the wall were just 22 years or younger. The largest group, 33,103, were 18 years old. 12 soldiers on the wall were 17. 5 were 16. And 1 was 15. Think about that. What were you doing at 15 years of age? 31 sets of brothers on the wall. 54 soldiers from Thomas Edison High School in Philadelphia. Think about that. 54 from one high school. That's unbelievable. And we've heard about the 8 women on the wall as well. And at this time, I'd love to have Matt and Debbie Carty. We have a wonderful gift from the Guidos. I'm going to call it Lenox, but it's really just over the line. And I've talked to several family members that are here today. If I've missed anybody, please, I'm going to read off the names. These placards, and if we could get you folks to kind of go that way a little bit, they're all alphabetical, so A will be way over here. If there's any family member or all family members of the individual I'm calling, we want you to come forward. We're going to present you with a rose with a flag that Guido's put together for us. Go to your family's placard and stand there. And when we get done, at the end of the 27, we're going to have a volley of a 21-gun salute. We're going to play taps, and Michael Fabrizio is going to play the final song that still gets me thinking about it. So with that, Kevin Gary Aldham from Pittsfield, Massachusetts, and he was 19 years old. If there are no family here, if we can have a veteran come forward and do our part of our presentation, that would be very helpful. No, A's down there. Yep. Gary Thomas Benjamin from Berkshire Village, 18 years old. Francis Henry Bazillion from Williamstown, 28 years old. We're looking for volunteers, so don't be shy. Paul Allen Connor from Beckett, 20 years old. And this is my friend Susan, who yesterday was in Florida. And she drove up here this morning from Hartford, Connecticut to be here. I didn't even realize you were connected. I'm sorry for the loss of your father, your uncle's brother as well. But she's been a dear friend for 22 years. So thank you very much, Susan. Peter Allen Cook from North Adams, 20 years old. Paul Marvin Cronk Jr. from Ashley Falls, 20 years old. And this is Paul's son. Thank you very much. David Christopher Borey from Pittsfield, 18 years old. Anybody want to come forward and... Okay. Michael James Casey from Dalton, 23 years old. William Francis Coakley from Lenox, 33 years old. His brother Bob, brother and sister-in-law Marianne, and nephew Michael are here. Thank you very much. Charles Henry Cummings, 18 years old. Okay. Richard Shirley Davis Jr. from North Adams, 21 years old. Peter Wesley Foote, 20 years old, from North Adams. John Peter Hartledge III from Savoy, 20 years old. Tristan Whitney Hayes, Williamstown, 17 years old. Thank you for coming forward. James Calvin Henneberry from Pittsfield, 23 years old. Get down here. Yeah. Charles Egbert Jackwins from Housatonic, 20 years old. No, we got one. Yeah. Edward Carl Jarvis from Pittsfield, 20 years old. Don't be shy. Paul Stephen Krasnowick from Housatonic, 24 years old. Howard Henry Lucier from Cheshire, 21 years old. John Joseph Malloy from Great Barrington, 32 years old. Patrick John Maraca from Dalton, 20 years old. John Lionel Pratt from Pittsfield, 18 years old. Russell Rene Roulier from Adams, 20 years old. His sister Jackie is here today from Adams. Thank you very much for coming down. George Jerry Schuffelt from Pittsfield, 18 years old. James Michael Termini from Lee, 18 years old. Michael Cornelius Whalen from Lee, 25 years old. And I think there's 15 Whalens here today, and I would love to have you all escort your family to Michael's placard. My friend David Whalen is here, lost a brother in Vietnam, lost a brother in World War II. The family legacy of service is unbelievable. Thank you all for the great turnout here today. And Chester Lawrence Witanick Jr. from Cheshire, 21 years old. Okay. Yeah, right down at the very end. While we're waiting for them to get to the end, when Matt and I were here yesterday, and all we could hear were birds. There was a lot of people here, but the hallowed ground effect that we wanted to have here came to fruition. And even though there were people here, they were quiet, and we just sat there and said, listen. And all we heard was the birds chirping, and that's exactly what we're hearing here right now. So with that, we're going to have a volley. Bill Mulholland and Joe DiFilippo are going to play taps. And then Michael Fabrizio has one of the most powerful songs I've heard. And I hope that you will understand and appreciate and listen to the words he's going to say. And we can't thank you enough for being here today.
You can find him on the mountain just east of peaceful Tennessee. His whole life surrounds him in that cabin, but his dreams are buried on the banks of foreign sea. He's got two toes fighting in the jungle, and a third one going on in his mind. He's decorated by his country, but the ornaments won't heal the pain he had. POW 23, born in 1943, to a single mile from Berkshire County. He was drafted in 65 against the wishes of his young bride. He can't run away from the memories that take him overseas. Will always be POW 23. Before the war, he just can't remember. He knows he's just living on borrowed time. His love passed away a few long years ago, and we treated his service like a crime. POW 23, born in 1943, to a single mile from Berkshire County. He was drafted in 65 against the wishes of his young bride. He can't run away from the memories that take him overseas. Where he'll always be POW 23. Spent a year in Charlie's soul, lost his faith, his best friend. His buddy's words still haunt his hopeless dream. And sometimes late at night, he can still hear them scream. POW 23, fighting for you and me. A war will end one day, there will be peace. See you in a better life. Thank you for keeping freedom alive. If only they taught you to kill the memory. Rest in peace. Over and out for me. POW 23. Thank you.
There's a story behind every one of these names that needs to be shared, it needs to be told. And when we talk about them, when we remember them, they live forever. Thank you all very much for being here.